Greetings everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm your host Captain Rye, and today's YouTube video comes from subscriber DerpAmber, and Derp is in the Tier 5 Koenig. It's a Tier 5 maximum battle on the straight map, and it's standard battle mode. I emphasize that it's standard battle mode because that's going to come into play at the end of this game. The Tier 5 Koenig German battleship in the tech tree. Not anything remarkable. Her primary attributes are the fact that it's got turtleback armor, it got reasonable gun range, isn't detected outside of the gun range, unlike the New York, although that could have changed since I played that ship, and has slightly better gun arcs that allow you to get all 5 of your guns onto a target without having to over-angle and expose your broadside. Of course, even if you do over-angle and expose your broadside, you do have that turtleback, so you are hard to citadel. Enemy Kuma out in the open, Derp takes shots out at him, he is broadside on, and these shots look pretty clustered. Yes, in fact, he manages to double citadel that Kuma. They're really gonna make that Kuma think twice about being broadside on to a battleship. Because as we all know, broadside onto a battleship, that's a paddling. Now, there is an enemy carrier in the game. Of course, that means there is a friendly carrier as well. And right now, the enemy carrier is more concentrated on the cluster of Derp's friendly teammates up in that smoke screen. The enemy team has got themselves a nice cluster out here, and there are a couple of broadside on cruisers. Of course, Derp has just fired, so he can't take advantage of this situation just yet. And this is where, Derp, you make one small miscalculation here. You've decided to turn your ship and your guns to shoot at a destroyer disappearing behind an island. Not really the best use of your shots, considering about half of them impact that island and the other half miss that destroyer altogether. If you had nothing better to shoot at, I would have said fine, take that shot, but you do have a whole plethora of enemy ships to punish. Derp's almost got his guns reloaded, and he's got a ship that's turning bow on as he takes shots out here. Again, would have fired at the ship behind as he is more broadside, and you probably would have caused a little bit more damage. Still though, you do manage to penetrate with one of your shells, causing a little bit more damage. At this point, the enemy team has managed to secure a first blood by killing one of Derp's team. It's a little unfortunate, but it's not an insurmountable issue. Torpedoes coming in there from the friendly carrier do manage to impact that battleship, and they do cause him problems as Derp continues to take shots out at him. Now, again, this battleship is angled pretty heavily, and you're not doing too much damage. I feel like this is one of the key failings of a lot of battleship players, is they sit there and they're under the impression that they have to trade shots with the enemy battleships. Now that battleship has turned broadside on, but he gets taken out before Derp's shots get there. In future situations, when you're dealing with an angled battleship like that, take a look around. Pull that gun camera back, zoom into some of the other targets, and see if any of those targets are presenting a better target to shoot at. Specifically, see if they're presenting you a broadside, or if they're a squishy target like a cruiser that you can punish for just being in your gun range. Shooting repeatedly, trading shots at a bow-on or heavily angled battleship is not really the best use of resources. Still though, his team does manage to take out that battleship. Of course, in the process, they've lost one of their destroyers, so they've lost their destroyer advantage, and they've lost 2 more additional ships, so now they're down 4 ships, and the enemy team is only down 1. Manages to citadel this cruiser out here. Of course, this cruiser broadside onto a battleship, and of course, we all know that is going to be a paddling. More shots out there. Citadels him again. Not quite enough to kill him. RNGesus, why do you do this to people? leave them on such low health when they clearly should just be dead. The group of cruisers is desperately trying to run back the other direction. Derp manages to citadel him again and secures his first kill in the game. Enemy CV is bringing his aircraft over here. Derp's anti-aircraft is opening up in a big way, and he is getting some of these aircraft shot down, which is actually going to prove to be very beneficial to him, as it is only a tier 5 carrier. More shots out there at the Kuma. Can he secure the kill? He does manage to do it, and there is his second kill in the game. Now, he's got a lowly tier 3 battleship here, who is broadside on. Of course, he hits him, but does a lot of over-penetrations, which is kind of surprising. Still, though, that battleship is on fire, and he's probably going to burn down for quite a while. He's got his forward guns loaded up. He fires again, and he's managing to hit him, causing, again, more damage, reasonable damage, but not enough to kill him. Can he secure the kill before the kill gets taken? Yes, he does manage to secure that kill. Derp here has secured his third kill, and he is now responsible for 75%, 3/4 of the kills on his team. But his team has lost another ship, and so they are down 5 ships to 4. Take that back, they are down 6 ships to 4, and the enemy team has 3, all 3 of their destroyers, and that right there is now going to be a serious problem. Torpedo bombers coming in here, he manages to shoot down a good number of them and does dodge pretty much the only torpedo there. Does get set on fire by the dive bombers though. Does have a bit of a problem in the sense that he's been forced to turn broadside to deal with this battleship. But he's still shooting down those aircraft. Now, enemy carrier has popped up, and I take that back. It was a tier 4 carrier, not a tier 5 carrier. And this is where he's got some decisions to make. His team is down to just 4 ships left. The enemy team has lost 1 more ship, but they definitely have the ship's advantage here. Now, the decisions that have to be made is, what target do you shoot at? Do you shoot at the carrier, or do you shoot at the battleship? Well, since it's a tier 4 carrier and he doesn't seem to be able to do too much, the carrier might not necessarily be the biggest threat. But taking out that carrier does mean that if he can take out the battleship immediately afterwards, he can drop off detectability. Now, this battleship is turning broadside onto him, so you're going to get the best shots that you can off at this guy. And Derp has decided he's going to angle in against this guy. Very intelligent maneuver. And he's going to effectively close the range and just shoot at this battleship. Now, this battleship, though, he's angling as well. Now, there is another minor critique for you here, Derp. Something that you're doing. And I see a lot of players do this as well. They'll fire shots off 1 at a time. 1 salvo at a time like that. 1 salvo at a time is really only useful if you're going to spread those shots around. Specifically, you're going to fire 1 shot, adjust, 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 adjust for all your subsequent shots. If you're not adjusting your shots, I find that you tend to have better dispersion, as in better clustering onto the target, if you fire the full broadside all at once. Again, Derp, forced to turn broadside to avoid a torpedo, exposes himself to the enemy battleship. But the enemy battleship, he's broadside on as well. And again, doing the single shot mode. But fortunately for you, you do manage to kill him, and the enemy battleship doesn't manage to avoid it. Earn yourself a high caliber medal in the process, and that is your 4th kill in the game. Enemy team still up on ships, although they did finally lose a destroyer. Now, decides he's going to focus down this carrier. And the carrier still has a full squadron of dive bomber. This is going to be a bit of a problem. Secondary's opening up. He's managed to get close enough to the carrier. Earns himself a Confederate medal as a result. Here's one of the key pieces of information for everyone. You see the Langley's stacks there, the smoke stacks on that carrier. Right below those, that's where the Citadel is located. That's also where the steering gears are located as well. And a lot of your shots are over-penetrating, and some of them are going high and literally flying through the empty space between the deck and the ship's hull. By aiming a little further aft, especially with battleship armor piercing, you can actually citadel that carrier. The last destroyer on his team manages to die, but that's okay. He takes out the carrier in the process, which is good. Derp turning broadside, turning back around because the enemy is putting pressure on his base. As he gets turned around, his shots are out of that Kuma, manages to nail the Kuma with a double citadel, and secures himself a Kraken Unleashed. There's his 5th kill. And generally speaking, his team has managed to somewhat pull the scores back. It's 2 ships versus 3 ships. Derp, unfortunately, very low health, though. And this is going to be a serious problem because he's taking a lot of shots from this pursuing battleship. It's also going to be a bit of a problem because there's at least one other battleship that hasn't been spotted, and they still have a destroyer left. Now he takes shots out here again with the single fire mode. Does do some reasonable damage, though, as he manages to hit that battleship bow on. At this point, it's best to try and break contact, get that island between you and him, and you're working with your team, you're doing the right thing, you're both kind of heading together in the same direction, and you're going to group up here. Enemy battleship pops up, it's broadside on Congo, and can you hit him? Again, minor error here with the single shot. I would have gone full broadside right off the bat instead of single shot. All of those shots, aside from one, managed to miss that Congo, and that's really unfortunate. The enemy has started capping the base, and that can only indicate that it is an enemy destroyer that is in that base. So both you and the friendly battleship in front of you do need to be careful. I would like to see some communication in that chat, but I don't know what server you're on, and I do know that certain servers communication doesn't really matter as nobody speaks the language. Still though, a little bit of communication regarding the plan of action. Congo, still broadside on, is shooting at the higher HP ship, and this is an excellent situation. Now, if I were that Congo, though, I would have been focusing on Derp. I would have been focusing on Derp because he's the lower HP ship. Both the battleship behind him and the Congo could tag team him and kill him quickly. Of course, Derp's got himself into a position where he's basically either broadside on to a Congo or he's broadside on to this other battleship. And both prospects are bad. Friendly battleship on his team gets taken out by torpedoes and the Congo in combination, and that just leaves Derp, and he's not in a good position to deal with the situation as he gets hit again and he's nearly dead. He's got no repairs left. There's really not much hope for him. The Congo shows up last second there, but shots are out there and they do manage to kill him. Really unfortunate end result there, but look at that, 175,000 damage done in a tier 5 battle in a Koenig. Confederate high caliber Kraken Unleashed, a devastating strike. Look at that XP though, 1,352 XP. This is his base XP because he doesn't have a premium account. 1,352 base XP. That puts him at top of his team and top of all the teams in this battle. He earned more base XP on a loss than the top scoring player on the enemy team by almost 200 points. Really good battle though. Unfortunately, it was a loss. Only a few minor mistakes on your part, but generally, overall, your team did kind of let you down. Still though, keep up plays like that, and eventually you'll be able to carry your team hard. Anyway, that's it for today's video, folks. If you like the video, hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below. If If you'd like to get semi-regular channel news and updates, you can do so by liking and following me on Facebook. If you'd like to help support me and my channel, as well as gain some early access to my World of Warships replays and files, you can do so by becoming my supporter on Patreon. If you've got a replay like this one that you'd like to see featured on my channel, you can send it to my email address. And if you'd like to watch me play World of Warships among other games live, usually Sundays at 10 a.m. for about an hour, hour and a half, you can do so by following me on Twitch. You can find the links for all of those in the video description down below. And as always, I'll see you next time. This is Captain Rye, signing off.